This week's episode is sponsored by Electric Collab, a psychology based branding and web design studio that positions founders to win more premium clients with a brand they're wildly proud of. If you want to serve a premium audience, you need brand messaging, design, and a digital presence that reflects the elevated quality of your work. Spoiler alert, Electric Collab is my brand studio. So if a rebrand has been in your mind, I would love to meet you. Learn more by visiting electriccollab.com. Now, on to the episode. Welcome to Curious Life of a Child-Free Woman. I'm Emily Paulsen, and October is my favorite month of the year. The air feels crisper, the nights grow longer, and there's a certain magic in this season that makes anything feel possible. This month, our conversations take on that same spooky energy. We're going to play with mystery, celebrate the unusual, and find meaning in the things that spark our imagination. If one episode a week isn't enough for you, you will find a special Halloween bonus waiting on Substack. For now, let's dive into this season and see where our curiosity takes us. Fear is one of the most powerful human emotions. It motivates everything from political movements to deeply personal decisions. But particularly during this spooky season, feeling scared is a controversial form of entertainment. Horror is fascinating to me because it seems so incongruous with the lifestyle we want most of the time. Normally, we're trying to add comfort and calm into our lives, yet we are enamored with true crime, murder mysteries, haunted houses, and terrifying movie magic. So, what is it about being scared that we love so much? Today's guest, Jeff Beach, appeared in the cult horror film It Follows, a story that became an instant classic for the way it turned everyday fear into something deeply psychological. Jeff's part in the movie gave him a front row seat to how horror is made and what it takes to create that tension and unease we cannot look away from. I am so excited to talk with him about what goes into making fear believable on screen, why horror sticks with us so long after the movie is done, and what our favorite scary movies might reveal about the things we are afraid to face. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. I think what you have done in this movie is so cool. So, this is a fangirl moment for me, and I am so excited to get the behind the scenes scoop on the world of horror movies.
Yeah, it was fun. It was weird because we went to go see The Shining at the Redford Theater. We love that movie, and a couple of friends of mine wanted to go, and it's about an hour away. So we said, heck with it, let's go. So we went to go see that. And at the intermission part of it, they stopped and they had this organ player going, which is actually in the film. The organ player for the theaters was in the movie in the theater part. So anyway, he played a little bit, and then a woman came on stage and said that they were filming a movie. We were there on a Saturday, and they said they're filming a movie there on Monday morning at 8 a.m. So if you want to be a part of it, just show up. So we showed up, and it was a lot of hurry up and wait. There was a coffee shop close by, and we waited there until we got a little bit of direction on what to do. The theater was right down the way, and then they lined us up what they wanted to do. And the director came out and thanked us all. And then they gave us a little bit of direction what to do. Mainly, my scene was when we was standing outside the theater, and the main actors were standing behind me, which was pretty cool. I could hear what they were saying. The camera and everything was there. It was funny too because we were supposed to make it look like we were talking but not talking. I don't know what reason, but I was using a lot of hand gestures when I was doing it. And the director came up to me. He's like, I love what you're doing. Thank you so much for being here, but we need you not to move your arms so much. I'm like, no problem. It was fun. And there was a little bit of screen time on the inside. We were waiting for our snacks. I was a little further away from the main actors there, but I still got a little bit of screen time inside the theater as well. It was awesome. It was a fun experience.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, not many people can say that they've been in a horror movie and a very popular one at that. And it's cool how it just came about. You were already out to see a scary movie and in the vibe of that. And then this opportunity, it sounds like just fell into your lap, a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, we didn't have any idea what it was or what it was about. And the director, David Robert Mitchell, he's a bit of an unknown. I think he's from Michigan, and that's why he filmed it there. I didn't know anything about the movie. First, I thought it was going to be a black and white, like a B movie black and white film.
For people listening who haven't seen It Follows yet, Can you give us a high level context of what the movie is without giving it away? Since I'm sure a lot of people listening will want to watch it sometime between now and Halloween. At a high level, what is it like?
Well, it's a cautionary tale, of course, about delving into something that you probably shouldn't delve into and having it follow you and realizing that the decision that you made wasn't the best. It's following you throughout the course of the main actor's life, and it stays with them and causes a lot of fear in their life and absolutely drives her nuts. I know it would me. It's an interesting movie. They filmed it in a way where it's supposed to look more like a dream than in reality.
It's very cool. Now that you say that, I wouldn't have picked up on that, but having seen the cinematography, that makes sense. It has this extra eerie look to it. What's real, what isn't. It's not funny, but the context of thinking you make a decision and then almost the consequences of that, in this case, literally follow you. But that is so true for so many decisions that we make. And I think this plays into that fear of what happens, the consequences we bring on ourselves, and then also just this deep psychological fear I think a lot of us have about being watched and somebody lurking or looking or around the corner or around the doorway. It's just so tangible to what really scares us.
The people that are following this main actresses, they're not really have any weapons or anything. They're not walking real fast. It's just they're constantly coming for her. It's like when Jason in the Friday the 13th movies, he's not running, he's not doing anything, he's just walking calmly. And that's scary enough, I think.
It's so true. That's such a good point. It's not like they're wielding a weapon that we can visibly see. It's just their presence that freaks us out.
I was just going to say that it messes more with your imagination, I think, in that way, because it's more about how you're dealing with this situation than it completely upfront. So I think it's a good way to do it.
What made you interested in horror in the first place? You were at a theater watching a classic horror movie. The Shining is one of my favorites, and then you got to be in one. So tell me what brought you to this genre. What do you like about it?
What's fun and interesting about the horror genre is that it's so open for interpretation. There's so many things that you can do with it, and it doesn't have to always be serious either. There's comedy horror, there's all kinds of different ways to look at horror. And I always think that that's interesting. That it's just so open for how the director and writers want to interpret it. And you can get your point across through a horror movie, I think, in ways that some other genres you can't. You can say so much with it. You can just be a lot more creative with it. My sister and I used to watch a lot of HBO growing up. We had HBO, luckily. And I remember one stood out was Poltergeist. I think that was the first horror movie I've seen, and that movie really freaked me out when I was a kid. So I just always held on to that movie and then just trying to itch that scratch, always watching something that would be as intense as that movie.
Poltergeist scared me too when I first saw it. That one definitely sticks with me. There are a lot that stick with me. And that's why I think this whole human phenomenon is weird because they stick with us. I've definitely had nightmares if I watch something too late at night or if I watch something that's particularly scary to me. And to your point with the creativity, I do think there are so many tones that you can take from a movie maker's perspective, bringing in comedy. Of course, they bring in sex so much into the horror genre. There's so many different avenues: romance, relationships, friendships, kids, toys. There's so much stuff that comes into it. And what's scary is so subjective. Different people are scared by different things. So a movie that might keep me up at night for weeks, you might not be bothered about at all or impacted at all. So it's fascinating what we even find scary. And then when we do fall into something that we find what that is for us, it's so weird how we keep going back to it. In a lot of ways, it makes us uncomfortable. It makes us uneasy. We lose sleep. We might think about it when we're parking our car late at night. Some intrusive thought comes in, and yet we go watch another one and we go see another one. There's something we like about it.
I think of horror movies is psychological horror more than, say, the slasher style, like your Silence of the Lambs, The Shining, of course. Just movies like that, like Aliens, one of my favorite movies, although that's more about a monster. There's definitely some psychological stuff going on with that one. Another answer to your question earlier, how did I get into horror, was a friend of mine was putting together a haunted house here in the city, and I got involved in that. So I had a photo booth that I would rent out for weddings and stuff like that. So I put one at the haunted house, and every weekend I would charge the money for people to stand in front of it, and I'd have monsters come in, I'd have the zombies and stuff, scare them while they'd get their photos taken, and that was a lot of fun to do on the weekends, and I got involved in doing their photography for their website and stuff because I was heavy into doing photography and starting to get really pretty good at it. I think a good 5 years I was involved in that, so that was a lot of fun.
That sounds so fun. I bet you got some crazy pictures of people being scared.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Are you a big haunted house fan? Do you do that a lot?
I tell you what, I was until I worked for one. Now I already know what, like, the behind the scenes stuff is. The shroud has been lifted, so to speak, once you start working in one. Like thrift stores, I worked at a thrift store for a long time. If you like thrift stores, don't work in one. If you like haunted houses, don't work in one because it's the mystery gets lifted, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, that's good life advice. Did you feel that way about being in a movie? What was your experience, I guess, from a behind the scenes perspective? Was it cool? Was it scary? Do you feel like you have more appreciation or has some of the mystery rubbed off?
The thing is with this being the extra in this, I didn't really know anything too much what was going on because it was very little direction. It was mainly just stand here. As a photographer, seeing the cameras and stuff, that was pretty sweet. It was neat to see how it got put together once I saw it. And I tell you what, once I found out it was in the theaters, I went the day it came out, and then I went 4 or 5 times after that with different friends and stuff. "Hey, that's me." It was pretty cool too because they put my name in the credits. All the extras' names were in the credits, which you don't see too often. It was just a little bit of bragging thing, a little bit. "Hey, I was a part of this."
You should brag about it. I mean, these are just like the weird, unexpected experiences that make life fun and cool. And you got to do something interesting and you should celebrate it and savor it. And I hope you watch it every year and invite new friends in and just celebrate that moment. We have to do that.
Especially now that it's on stream. A lot of people have the same streaming channels, so, "Hey, I was in that."
Yes. Well, I know a lot of people listening, if they haven't seen it yet, it's gonna go on their Halloween list if they're a horror fan. And yeah, speaking of watching things with friends and back to this idea of the horror genre, even though it's so scary, sometimes I feel like horror movies bring us together more than other types of movies because they're scary and it's hard to watch it by yourself. And I might put on a comedy or something if I'm home alone while my husband's out of town. I'm probably not going to do that with a horror friend. I would rather watch it with a big group of people. What's your feeling on that? Do you think horror has a place in community building?
I think to a point, some horror movies you just wouldn't watch with certain people. There's some pretty extremely bad ones, like, especially because they can trigger different emotions that you don't wanna be doing that to people, but there's rating systems to make sure. Most of the horror movies I've ever watched are the real dark ones. I prefer watching by myself. I don't know, that's just me, I suppose. There's some good ones out there.
What are some of your favorites beyond It Follows, which is obviously a fave?
Alien is my number 1 favorite, and I love that movie. The artist that created the Alien is one of my favorites, so I'm kinda nerded out about that movie, and I've seen a couple of the sequels, but the thing is with sequels, I don't watch a lot of sequels, I just like mostly the originals. The Exorcist is another favorite. I recently saw the 2nd Exorcist, and it was okay, but I always like the original. Silence of the Lambs, another one. Love that movie. I just saw a really crazy one the other day called The Void. You seen that one?
Oh, no.
That's a more of a cosmic horror about different realities and where you go when you die and this and that. It turns out it was a monster movie, but it's also a cosmic horror movie. It was interesting. They had a local theater had a tour come through. It was called Vampire Zombies from Space.
Okay. That sounds fun.
The producers and the main vampire was there, and they did a little Q&A after the movie was over, but it was just a black and white crazy B movie. You could see the wire holding the bat flying around, and the spaceships were made out of just junk. I love movies like that. Me and some friends went to go see it and just had a blast. And I think after this podcast, we're gonna go see Shaun of the Dead at the same theater. They're gonna have that playing. They have free horror movies every Friday.
Yes, that movie is so good. I just rewatched that recently. A lot of the ones you said, I love also. I love Alien, I love Silence of the Lambs, and I love Shaun of the Dead. It's such a perfect example of how this can be really fun. I agree. I like that they run the gamut. There are some that are really high production and really top tier actors, and it's really well done and really scary. And then there's also the B movie style, a mega spider from the 50s or something that's just low budget and weird, but that's cool too. It's a genre where you have permission to be a little bit messy and strange, and I think that can be really cool.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, sky's the limit with that stuff. You got a vision, you can throw a lot of money at it or not. You can still be entertained by it.
Yeah, it can still be a cool creative expression.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you see as a fan and somebody who's in this world? What do you see as the future of horror? Sometimes I see things in the news or just in pop culture where people feel like because we have CGI and we can make things so realistic that in some cases horror's gone too far. It's too much, it's too real, it's inciting violence or something like that. And then there's others that feel like this is the way movies are being made. Why wouldn't we utilize all of these tools and techniques in this genre? What's your feeling on the future of horror movies?
AI has always been a point that they've used as a way to control the masses or whoever, like in Terminator and stuff like that. But I think AI is definitely going to be at the forefront of really all movies. But I also think that people want to get away from stuff like that too and make it more personal to what people are going through. I just saw Bring Her Back. That was an intense one.
I feel like I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it just came out onto stream. That was more about how grief really can make you do some really brutal things in life. The woman that's in it lost her daughter, and she's using these other kids to bring her back. And it was really an interesting story, but it was really dark and brutal at the same time. So when you can psychologically do stuff like that to your audience, I think people are going to want to see it. It's more personal. I think that's one thing that maybe some movies that are going to be more personalized through grief or some loss. Weapons was another one that was similar to that. Children that have been kidnapped and they go missing. That was another one. If you haven't seen Weapons, that's a good one.
I keep seeing previews for it and I'm very scared of it, just the trailers. Even as a horror fan, I feel like, can I handle it? I don't know. And obviously, this is a podcast about being child free. I don't have kids, but sometimes there is something. I think kids are one of my triggers. If something is happening scary related to children in a movie, I don't know. It freaks me out on a different layer. You mentioned The Exorcist. I mean, that's a classic one with a kid who is possessed by the devil. It's weird. And again, we all have different things that feel especially scary to us. But I think you make a good point of bringing up grief or different human emotions that could become scarier because that makes it more relatable to us as individuals. If we've experienced grief, loss, trauma, and then you see somebody acting in a way that's insane or horrific or brutal in a movie, but you see the backstory of how they became that, and there's some piece of that that's relatable to you, that's different layer where in some ways I think it gives us empathy for them, but it also makes it scary because then it's so real that we could even relate to their behaviors.
Yeah. And also with the trend on what's happening is bringing up stories from the past. Right now, the Ed Gein story is real popular, and I think they're gonna keep on that trend. I think Lizzie Borden is gonna be the next one and stuff like that, where they're gonna bring up different serial killers and things like that that came up through history. I think that's another trend that's gonna be happening. And I think they're gonna do that, but make it really personalized with the story. The Ed Gein story is the psycho story where they really delve deep into the psychological aspect of it. I haven't seen it yet, so I could be wrong, but I know that's on my list to watch.
I think you're totally right. I saw an interview with the main guy, I forget how you say his name, Charlie something, who plays Ed Gein in that new Netflix series. I wanna watch that too, it's on my list. He was being interviewed, asking him, "How do you step into a role like this and play it so well and transform yourself physically?" And he had a different accent, so you become this character. And then how do you detach yourself from that at the end of the day or at the end of the movie and go back to your normal life? And his answer was interesting in saying, not that he was being sympathetic with this person, the real person, Ed Gein, who did all these terrible things, but almost calling to question our cultural obsession with these people. Who is the monster? This man in history did bad things. Then we've made all of these movies based on his story, Silence of the Lambs, Psycho, different things that are inspired by his crimes. And we can't get enough of it. And now they're remaking it again. Right. And so we feel like we're against him. We call him evil. And yet we want to watch it. It was a really fascinating answer.
Yeah, for sure. I think they were asking the actor who played the Nazi in Inglorious Bastards how he can play such an evil character. He said, "He's not evil. He's a regular guy. He's just doing what he's supposed to do." And the psychology of that is that he doesn't know he's evil. He doesn't know that he's doing evil stuff. He's not intentionally doing evil stuff. He's doing what he's supposed to do, which in his head, he doesn't know is evil. That evil doesn't always know that they're being evil. They're just being human. So it's an interesting aspect of that, I guess.
Jeff, that's the scariest thing of all, to think that somebody is out there doing these evil things and to them it's not even evil. That's an ultimate fear.
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
Yes. Okay, well, let's talk about the fun aspects of these to round this out. It's the Halloween season. It's almost exactly Halloween as this episode is going out. So, we've talked about horror movies, we've talked about haunted houses. What are some fun Halloween traditions or just things that you love to do this time of year?
Going to see the horror movies and stuff like that. I like going to see all because right now a lot of the theaters are putting old movies. Last week we went to go see The Dark Crystal at the theaters playing for Sunday and Monday. Love that movie. I was 5 when that came out. I remember seeing it when I was 5. I do a lot of artwork. I draw and paint. I've been doing that a lot lately. It's easier to do it when you can open up the windows and it's not so hot out. I don't know. I just get a creative bug in me to do that. I used to do a lot of horror and macabre photography back in the day. Got out of that because I'm more switched to doing drawing and painting as a creative outlet, just stuff like that. How about you? What do you like to do? What's your Halloween traditions?
Thanks for asking. I love the creativity. I wish I was an artist or a photographer who could do the cool things that you're doing. We host a party every year. I love to host a Halloween party. I love to dress in costume, try to come up with something that's not necessarily unique, but something that hasn't been done over and over again. So that part's fun for me. Try to be creative. I like to make weird food this time of year, things that look scary. Well, a lot of my food tastes scary. I'm pretty terrible at cooking, but things that have some kind of theme. I've made like cinnamon rolls that look like intestines or truffles that look like eyeballs. I just feel like it's a time of year where we have permission to do things that are unusual and strange, and we probably wouldn't be that messy or out there in other seasons, but it's a free for all around Halloween. I think that's so freeing.
For sure. Yeah, I love cooking. I could talk all day about cooking as well. I do a lot of outdoor grilling and stuff like that, smoking and grilling. I'm all about that for a while.
Ah, well, I'm jealous. Maybe one day I will learn that skill. In the meantime, I'm gonna stick to scary movies and Halloween stuff.
Nothing wrong with that either.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. I think it's so cool that you've had this experience, and just from one horror movie fan to another, it's fun to have a conversation about the spooky, kooky stuff that comes along with the Halloween season.
For sure. It was a great time.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I would love for you to keep exploring with me. Check out the bonus episode on Substack and come hang out on Instagram for some October fun. Until next week, keep leaning into mystery, wonder, and of course, let's stay curious together.